the question that I will pose, but it's something that I want to share with you a couple of perspectives which might be helpful. I'll start with Rabbi Eliezer Shor. He's a rabbi in Israel. I think it happened in the early 70s. So he said he was on a bus in Yerushalayim, and a lot of tourists. And he was looking at two fellows with their backpacks. He thought they were actually quite good looking, very nice kids, looking good as well. But something changed in a moment. He heard them talking German. As soon as he heard them talking German, suddenly it was like, what are they doing in my country? Why did he have this instinctive gut feeling? Because his grandparents, one of them went through the camps and lost all of his siblings. And from the other grandparent, they lost everyone. So he grew up with that knowledge and perhaps stories. And right away it was visceral. It came from deep within. Ugh. Interesting, I don't know if it's from the same person or not, but I read, there was an American, regular guy. He was living in Israel. His oven broke. So he goes to one of these stores that have ovens. I don't think Israel makes their own ovens. I think everything's imported. But anyway, he says, on my oven, I need a new oven. So they said, we have a lot of different models, but the best is German. German oven is the best. He says, that's the one I don't want. He said, I just told you it's the best one. He said, did you hear what you said, those words? German oven? That doesn't bring up anything to you? And then it struck him. Yeah, sadly, the Germans made ovens which did not make kugel. They made ashes from Jewish people. So my question, it's not really a question. Is this something which is appropriate? To have such a response, such a negative response. I have to tell you, my own family, my brother Eli's my oldest brother. I don't remember because I was a little kid at that time. But I remember either my parents bought it or someone gave them, I think it was China, made in Germany. He broke it deliberately. He said, in this house there cannot be, this is like maybe late 60s. It's not that long ago, But is that a normal thing? I certainly grew up about Volkswagen. Jews don't buy Volkswagens. We don't buy Mercedes-Benz because it's German. Okay. Is this normal? Is this appropriate? Is this proper? Question mark. If it is, where do we draw the line? I mean, you're not going to sleep on Egyptian, an Egyptian. They make really good towels and they make really good linen. What?
Watch out for Greek salad, Rabbi.
Yeah. And what about if you want to go back? I mean, maybe you shouldn't buy olive oil from Spain. Mm-hmm. And then if we really we don't want to be cute. But if you just look at Jewish history, you'll see that every single, European country kicked us out. And so where do we stop? Why is it that from a person, will take something from Italy, but he won't take it from Germany? Like, is there a right? Is there a wrong? So I don't have an answer to this. It would seem, I spoke with my friend Igor, it would seem it's a personal feeling. There's no halacha. But the question really is, as a Jew, how should we feel? And I mentioned that today, it's very, very sad, but you can find products that say Palestine or West Bank or something like that. They won't say Israel. I mean, would you buy such a product? Is there any reason why you shouldn't buy such a... I'm not talking about the boycott. I'm talking about just something's on the shelf. You want to buy, whatever it is. It says it comes from Turkey, it comes from Israel, it comes from Palestine.
Does it have a picture?
It has a hashtag. Okay. So this opens up the concept of, is revenge a Jewish aspect? And... from the Chumash, I believe you could get two different, equal ideas. My first thought would be that if you just read the 5 books of Moses, not getting into Tanakh, but even Tanakh as well, but certainly if you read the 5 books of Moses, I believe we would not come up with the idea that revenge is a Jewish concept. starting from the first murder, right? God forgives Cain, and we don't find the father doing anything. He has other children. He doesn't say to the other kids, take revenge, this guy murdered your brother. There are two major catastrophes, which is, one is destroying the flood, but that's almost as if to say, Vayinochem Hashem. It says very clearly, God felt remorse. And if we have to put it in contemporary terms, and may Hashem please forgive me, it's almost like Hashem says, I'm going to do a rewrite. I'm making humanity, they have a fatal flaw, they're a bunch of sinners, I'll start again. That's not revenge. There's no revenge over here. The other place is destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. Again, it's not revenge at all. Where do you see revenge? In fact, from the Torah it says, if I had to find a country that was really, really like Germany, it would be Egypt. We talk about it every single year. Every single thing is the slavery and the oppression, and they threw our babies into there, and they cemented the babies into the pyramids, and they separated I mean, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Oh, but Babylon.
And 1 second. And it doesn't say, and you know what it says? Lo tesayev Mitzri. Don't despise an Egyptian. You know why? Because you were strangers in their land. You understand? So if someone's going to say, Ukrainians, you know what they did between the First World War, the anti-Semitic. Yeah, but you also lived there for hundreds of years. The Hasidic movement grew it from and in Ukraine. So, do you have a right to pick and choose? To focus on the anti-Semitism and not to focus on the fact that it was a place where Judaism flourished for hundreds of years? I'm throwing this out. I don't have an answer for you. I'm just saying it's interesting. When it comes to Germany, I also still have that gut reaction, type of thing. But the question is, why is that more than even till today? I might buy something, from Palestine. I mean, I don't have that, even though in many ways we could claim they're just as bad. So the Torah tells, don't despise because you were there. There's one place in the Torah where the Torah talks about revenge. Anyone want to guess? No? I know you were going to say that. Was a trick question. It does not say the word revenge. It says, do not forget, remember, destroy these people. The one place where it says revenge is in the famous story of the Midianites, that the wicked prophet blesses them, and then he realizes that the only people that could cause harm to the Jews are the Jews themselves. How do you get Jews to harm themselves? By committing sin. So he says, listen to me, get the Midianite girls to attract the boys are human, and they'll be attracted to them. Once they're attracted to the Midianite women, already they'll worship idols. And then a plague breaks out. Pinchas kills the Midianite princess. And what does Hashem say? Take revenge. Interesting enough, when Hashem says to Moses, take revenge, you know what he says? Take revenge for what they did against you. And you know what Moses says? Moshe Rabbeinu, let's take revenge for God. And the rabbis pick up on this right away. But that's the only place where I see, again, I'm not an expert and I didn't really spend days preparing this for you, but that's the only place that I remember or see in the Chumash where it says, take revenge. Oh, but everyone always talks about Amalek. So there are 2 points I want to point out about Amalek. Actually, 3 points. Point number 1, why does the Torah tell us to destroy them? And not only destroy them, he says, do not forget. And it really becomes something which is really, you could almost use the word irony. How many of us remember and talk about the Philistines? Not too many. How about the people from, from Armenia? Not too many people. We're talking about a people that really don't exist. We don't know where they are. They're completely meaningless in terms of universal history. And the Torah tells you, I want you to destroy the memory, so don't forget. In other words, every single day we actually say, remember what Amalek did for you. And what are you supposed to gain from that? To destroy them. So the best way to destroy a person is not think about him. And if this goes on for for many, many years, it's not even a footnote in a book. And here the Torah reminds us that they're alive. And who are they? We don't know, but don't forget. Very strange. But there's no word of taking revenge. So one of the great rabbis, I forget his name, but one of them has a very interesting point. Why, when the Torah tells us, do not forget, that would then tell you two things. For everyone else, you may forget. Only Amalek, not the 7 Canaanite nations. You're obligated to destroy them. You don't know who they are. You're not obligated anymore to remember that there was the Kini, the Knesi, and the Girgoshi. Who remembers? When Mashiach will come, we'll take care of it. If there's anything left. The one person or the one nation or the one evil that you should not forget is Amalek. So doesn't that seem? So the point number one is, all our other enemies, all the other countries, all the other isms that hurt us in the past and perhaps are still hurting us today or want to hurt us today, maybe we should forget. Point number one. Point number two is, what is the best way to take revenge on your enemy? The Gemara has, I will tell you the Gemara, but I'll say it in the way, with one line from Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory, the former chief rabbi. And that is, the Gemara tells us, where is it? Oh, here it is. It's the Gemara Sanhedrin. The grandchildren of Cicero studied Torah in Jerusalem. The grandchildren of Sancherib, he's the king that destroyed the first town. The grandchildren taught Torah in public. And finally, our good friend Haman the Wicked, his grandchildren were teachers in Bnei Brak. What's going on over here? So Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory, he had his insight. For the Jew, the best revenge against the enemy will make his grandchildren a rabbi. I hate Jews. Your grandchild will be a rabbi. I'll have nothing to do with them. You can have grandchildren that are Jewish. Yeah? But it's an amazing thing. So when the Torah tells us, do not forget, the Torah is actually telling us, don't open that door for Amalek. Because otherwise, you know what Jewish people would do? We would try to reform them. We would try to transform them. And here's a story, and I'll go back to this, and if I don't go back to it, you'll remind me, please, okay? Here's a fantastic story. You should know this, by the way. When I say you should know, it means we've been fed the lie much too long that until the state of Israel, Jews were cowards. So we have the empire or of King David and Solomon. This went for 400 years. The Romans themselves even had to fight years to subdue Judea. Jews are warriors. By nature, we are warriors. In this week's parsha, Judah is a lion, and he's the king of his people, and he's the lion that crouches. So fantastically, to know there was a person, a great tzaddik, a great rabbi, a great diplomat, a great general, and the equivalent of a viceroy, just like Joseph. His name was Hasdi ibn Shaprut. He lived in the year from 1915 to 975. You could Wikipedia if you want, go to Chabad.org, read about him. And he basically was a doctor and a diplomat, and he basically made the sultan, or I'm sorry, the caliph of Cordova, very powerful. Because he spoke many languages, he was able to be the bridge between one group and another group, because he knew Hebrew and he knew Arabic and he knew the Spanish, whatever. Anyway, the story goes that the caliph elevated him, and they went for a public ride. I don't know if you know the story, but it's a famous story. They went for a public ride, and people are shouting, long live the Caliph, long live, Hasdi ibn Shaprut. And there was one Arab, one Gentile, I don't know who he was. He shouted, long live the Caliph, but down with the Jew. The Caliph heard this. And it was an insult to him. He elevated this man. This man was actually the best, the most powerful person in the country besides him by insulting the Jew. He was really insulted. So he had him immediately arrested. And Hasdi ibn Shaprut didn't do anything, He wouldn't have paid attention even to it. And he says to his Jewish advisor, what punishment should we give him? He did not answer. He says, well, I know you're a kind person. You don't want to punish him. I'll tell you what his punishment will be. Cut out his tongue. He should never be able to talk again. And of course, he listened. Anyway, he's not going to do it on the spot. So this fellow who cursed the Jew was in prison, and Hasdi ibn Shaprut visited him. And he says, I'm the most powerful man in the country. Where's your brains? So he begins to cry. He says, it's terrible. My life is terrible. Everything is terrible. I am poor, and my wife puts me down, and my children don't respect me. I don't have anything. I just thought I was just so bitter about the world, and I see you sitting up there. And it's not fair. Here I am, I'm a loyal, I don't know, maybe Islam, Muslim, whatever, and here you are a Jew, and you're on top. I just couldn't stop it. So he says, where do you live? Gives him the address, and immediately he sends people to redo the house, to bring food to the house. In the meantime, he lets the guy out, and he gives him clothing. He says, I'm going to get you a job, whatever. And the man's destiny changed from the lowest of the low to suddenly to being a mensch. His wife respected him. Oh, because of you, look, we have a nice house, we have food. The kids respected him, and he had got back some dignity. Of course, the king didn't pay any attention. And a while later, maybe let's say 6 months later, they're going through the streets of Cordova, and everyone is shouting, long live the Caliph, long live... Who's shouting the loudest? This guy. And the king, he knows the voice. And he turns to Chazi and he says, didn't I tell you to cut out his tongue? He says, I did, Your Majesty, but I gave him a different one. It's really such a beautiful, true, beautiful story. But think about it for a minute. If we have enemies, we could cut out their tongue, or we could give them a different tongue. Which one is the proper approach?
Give them a different tongue.
It's not so easy. We don't know. So that's what I'm saying. I'm going to give you some ideas, but I will not answer the question because it's different. Okay. So let's go back to the idea of, we start, about the idea of revenge. What happens if a person says, it's not revenge, it's justice? How do you define the difference between justice and revenge? Incidentally, are you allowed to take revenge? The Torah is very clear, lo sikom v'lo sitar. You may not take revenge. Is that a general mitzvah, or is that specific to your family, which are the Jewish people? I did not do the research, but I know, at least according to one rabbinic authority, it's only Jewish people. So if you have a Goyish neighbor that breaks your windows and then puts Nazi symbols on your car, if you can't get him legally, you could take revenge. No problem. If it's a misguided Jew that does that, you're not supposed to take revenge. You're supposed to give him a new tongue, not take revenge. If you can't get him that you arrested because he broke the law, then you're not allowed to take revenge. He's a Jew. So accordingly, there's no question. Yeah, you can have revenge on Goyim, though the question would simply be, what's the benefit? You know, what are you going to gain from it? But let's say we say you're not supposed to take revenge. Let's make believe you're not allowed to take revenge, or it's certainly not a good human characteristic. That we can all agree on. It's not a good human characteristic. So what's the difference between that and justice? We're going to allow this person to write Nazi symbols on my car? Or let's say he doesn't. Let's say he just puts it on his window. He's letting you know what he thinks about the Jewish people. Or he has a Palestinian flag, whatever it is, and from Gaza to who knows what, whatever. So I didn't say you should marry his daughter. It's not Jewish. Or maybe he is actually, and he's there like that. What should be our response?
Isn't justice has the concept of a proportional response to the bad act, whereas revenge to me seems a little bit undifferentiated. It's sort of animated not by trying to make teshuvah or some restoration, but to cause more harm.
Okay, I will. I'm going to give it three differences.
Okay.
But I want to say the word proportional is a terrible word to use. Terrible word to use, because that's the type of thing. How valuable is one human being? Is it a person for a person? Is it an old man for a baby? The whole concept is against Israel is it's not proportionate. They only killed and murdered X amount of people, and you're doing it tenfold? No, there's no such thing as proportionate. You can't even make proportionate when it comes to money, because $100 to me is a lot different than it's to you. And it's a lot different to someone who's on welfare. And it's a lot different to Bill Gates. What's $100? I never saw that in my life. There's no such thing as proportion. It's like saying, you know, let's figure out what's painful to you, it will be painful to me. No, it's not. I'm very sensitive to pain, or I'm insensitive to pain. So I don't like the word proportion. I don't know why I'm getting upset. I'm just saying proportion is not a good word to use. So let's get back to what's the difference between justice and so again, there's no hard definition. But if you go on the computer and talk to Mr. AI, they come up with certain ideas. One of them is like this: as a rule, revenge is connected to emotion. A person has an emotional response, whereas justice is primarily rooted in the brain. In other words, it's an evaluation. Now, that's what you're going to see on AI. I'm going to bring it down just a tiny notch. You know where you could see a difference? So you talk to someone who's impartial, okay? So it's like this. I come into the shul and I see my friend Mordechai Reese and I say, you know, someone parked in my parking space. I'm thinking of torching the house. What do you think? He says, I don't think it's a good idea.
Totally reasonable.
Yeah, okay.
Reasonable
Very
thing is to
intellectual and
torture his car.
Okay.
Sounds like justice.
You understand? So you have to try it on someone who's not emotional. So if he says, that sounds fair to me, then it's justice. Okay? You might want to not get Mordechai into trouble, so you might talk it over with 2, 3, 4, 5 people. You understand? But you understand if they could say like, I don't believe it. Okay, he's a donkey, he's an ass. But that doesn't mean that you have to declare war. You understand? So that becomes revenge. On the contrary, so as a rule, it's not a hard rule, but as a rule, justice is more connected to the mind. There's also here what my friend Ruben said, but in different words. Justice is to restore stability. Revenge creates chaos. In other words, especially when we're talking international, but even between people, let's resolve this once and for all, so it won't happen again. In contrast to, you hurt me, I'll hurt you. The guy says, you hurt me, I'll hurt. It's a never-ending cycle. they make a big joke about two families, McCarthy or something like that, and Hastings, whatever it is in England, or I think they call it the War of the Rose or something like that. The bottom line is, it's terrible. Like a family feud goes 3-4 generations, it never ends. It never ends. But justice actually can end it. There's also, within justice, there's also two different things. There's restorative justice, and there's a type of like rehabilitation in contrast to retribution. But I don't want to get into those details.
But justice never satisfies all parties.
It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to satisfy. What it has to do is, what it has to do is it has to bring it down. Yes, and I don't have to like this agreement. But if the court of law said that I have to pay $100 to my landlord, that's what I will do, though I'm not happy about it. But it's the law. It's correct. They know the law. They said my feelings are irrelevant or whatever it might be. There's another thing.
But the jurors, the court of jurors, is based on emotions.
Okay, so I already had the discussion with Igor in the morning. I'm happy to have a class about why I think the jury system is corrupt and stupid. I'm happy to give that class. But that's not for now. It's not for now. There's one more thing. Essentially, revenge is personal.
Yes.
So I'm taking revenge. Actually, my wife or my children or my neighbor might say, I don't know why you're so upset. It's a personal satisfaction. I got him back. In contrast to justice, which is different. There's an acknowledgement that there was a wrong that was now righted. So let's go back for a minute. Famous story of the Talmud. Very famous story. I'm sure many of you know it. Rabbi Meir was studying Torah day and night in his neighborhood, and there were a bunch of ruffians that made a scene. They were bothering him. He could not study. They were not nice kids. So he went over to them and he said, "Please go next door. Go away." They would not listen to him. So Rabbi Meir says to his wife, "Bruria, I got to get rid of these people. They're no good. I'm going to pray that Hashem to destroy the sinners." And what does Bruria answer? Does it say Yitamu Chaitim min haaretz? Does it say that we will destroy the sinners? It says Yitamu Chatoim min haaretz. Sin has to be destroyed, not sinners. Why don't you pray that they do teshuvah? And Reb Meir prayed that they should do teshuvah. So here we have an interesting concept, that you focus on what is the best way to remove this threat, or what is the best way to remove this irritant or worse. One is destroy it, and another is maybe we could transform it. So using the story that I told you about a new tongue, I will give you another midrash. I don't remember where it says, but this is the midrash. And the holy Baal Shem Tov quoted it. And it's really, he put his own stamp on it, because it says like this: El nekames Hashem, El nekames Sefiya. Vengeance is God's. It's not man. But since when does God take revenge? There's no personality over here. If anything, it's justice, not revenge. And he uses the word nekama. In Hebrew, the word God's name, if you want to talk about God dispensing justice, it's usually Aleph Lamed Hey Yud Mem Elohim. But here it's Aleph Lamed El, which means the God of power, but also the God of mercy. El is actually Chesed. So how could it be we're using the name of God, Kel Nekames Hashem, the God of mercy is taking revenge. Kel Nekames Sefiya, may the God of mercy reveal revenge. So the holy Baal Shem Tov gave such a beautiful thought. He gave a parable. There was once a king who overheard one of the people. I'm making this up. I don't know exactly, but he heard a maintenance worker say that this king, all he does is sit on his throne the whole day. I'm the one. My back is breaking. Of course, this is not only disrespectful, this is rebellious. A normal, ordinary king, what would he do? Finish, it's over. Instead, this king had a different thing. He listened. All the king does is he sits on his throne a whole day, and I work. So he gave a commandment that instead of him being just a worker, he should be put in charge of all of the workers. Which means that every single day he would be given sheets of paper, what has to be done, what didn't done, and suddenly this guy his back is not breaking, but his brain he's not used to this. This goes on for 3 months, and then the king says, elevate him, make him in charge of sanitation of the whole area. One day they hear him saying, I don't believe it, I'm going crazy. How is it possible for one man to run a country? He must be a superman. I can't even run my maintenance crew. What did he do? He took revenge on this person. How did he take revenge? By giving him more responsibility, more honor, a higher salary, and then each time he's being elevated, he's realizing all I'm responsible for is the palace grounds. This king who sits on his behind on a golden, he's responsible for a country with, you understand that now he appreciates. So the Holy Baal Shem Tov said, Hashem, we're not so good. You want to take revenge? Bless us. Give us a lot of money, good health, a lot of children, nice neighborhood. And then we're going to say, oh, how could I have been disrespectful to Hashem? So instead of trying to take revenge on us because we're stupid or sinful, okay. So there's a lot. So getting back to, and this was, I made up this example. What happens if a fellow comes to you for a job, and he gives you the resume, he's born in Berlin, and he gives you some background, and you figure out that his grandfather was certainly an adult, or great-grandfather was an adult when this was happening. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm a Jewish man, why would I give a descendant of a possible Nazi, or maybe he really was a Nazi, why would I give him a job? The other part of you says, one second, what does he know about Jewish people? Very little. If he'll be treated with respect and dignity and see how I treat workers, he's going to be the greatest advocate for Jewish people. And if he ever goes back to or meets a group of people that are anti-Semitic, what are you talking about? I work for Shimon Goldstein. He treats me and the Arab and the Chassid all the same. He's just a real mensch. True story, absolutely a true story. And again, I can't remember the detail, please forgive me, but it is a true story. There was, in the UN, there was one of the countries, something with one of the Asian countries, did not, there were some crucial votes against Israel, and this particular, was like a smallish country, always abstained. They abstained, they never once condemned Israel. So later on, I forget who it was, but they traced back and they say, we really want to congratulate you that the whole world's against us, not you. He said, I'll tell you, why? It's because of, I think it was a Jewish lawyer. Jewish lawyer? What? This is the story. He says, my daughter graduated, university, and one of the things that they wanted to do was, and what she wanted to do was to see the world, and to have work experience not in Japan or something like that. And it just so happens to be that she landed up in Manhattan, a very smart girl, very pretty girl probably as well, and she was working in a law office. The one that ran the law office was a guy with a yarmulke, and she already had experienced the past where people on top take sexual liberty, the innuendos, stuff like that. He treated her like she was a princess. Respectful, dignity. They would, every Shabbos she was off, and she couldn't believe it, that this man who's a religious Jew, hearing from the secular, about Jews, they're pushy, and there's this, and they're clever, and they try to take over the world. She never saw such a decent human being in her life. So she told her father about this, and she says, please, don't listen to the propaganda. I was with them for close to a year. I could tell you they treat every human being beautifully. And as a woman, I was never threatened or harassed or even felt threatened at all. She said, for that, I promised my daughter I would never go against Israel. So whenever there was these crucial votes, basically he abstained. I don't know if he was strong enough to support Israel, but he would not condemn Israel. So how do you take revenge? Maybe you should take revenge by being a real mensch. Now, in order to clarify something, and I told this to Igor in the morning, in order to clarify this whole presentation, it has to be based on Torah principles. You understand? So if someone is a danger to you, the approach is not being nice to them. Someone is a danger, the approach has to be a Torah approach, which is to make sure that you are protected. And when it comes to a nation like Israel, Israel has to not only be willing to defend itself, but Israel has to present itself as, if anyone will dare start up with us, you could expect total annihilation. So it's very hard to say what I just said and apply it to Israel. That it's a different world out there. But my question to you was right now, Germany, I can't talk for the people of Germany. I can merely say that Germany as a country has not been worse or better to Israel than others. In many ways better, but certainly not worse. They have not been the initiator of trying to hurt them. So now the question is, how should we look at Germany? Do we have that instinctive feeling like a German oven? No, German ovens will never be in my house. But Mercedes-Benz, maybe. Maybe. And maybe not. So that aspect I cannot answer for you. I certainly have strong feelings of negativity towards famous bad people. But I don't know necessarily if that's the correct way. So how am I going to end? Mashiach will come, all questions will be resolved, and we will all be happy and live forever.
Amen. Very good.
Is there Chabad in Germany today?
Yes.
Is there Chabad in Germany today?
Yeah.